You know, like we're still having like a team meeting and talking about, you know, oh, what are the projections and what are this table and this data? Like,
oh, you know what? We are actually really horny right now. We'll be back. Give us 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. Hello and welcome to the Pillow Talks podcast. We're your hosts, Vanessa
and Xander Marin.
I'm a sex therapist with over 20 years of experience.
And I'm just a regular dude. We share the ups and downs in our relationship while giving you step-by-step techniques for improving yours.
Make sure you subscribe for your weekly double date full of totally doable sex tips, practical relationship advice, hilarious and honest stories of what really goes on behind closed bedroom doors, and so much more. It's the sex education you wish you'd had. It is time for another round of Ask Us Anything.
Oh, shit.
And we decided this time, let's make an ass out of everyone.
Out of you? Out of me?
Out of all of us. We went over to Instagram and we said, tell us your assumptions about us.
Show us your ass.
What? No, don't show us your ass on Instagram. Please don't. No, we asked, what do you assume about us individually, together as a couple, our business? And I even said, like, we give you permission to be nosy, be a little bit spicy.
Come in hot.
Nobody was, like, outright mean, fortunately.
Wow.
But, yeah, so we've got a lot of interesting questions, and we are going to go through them and give you our completely honest answers on whether your assumption is correct or not.
Yeah, let's make an ass out of you guys.
I mean, no, that sounds mean.
I mean,
we asked them to do this.
We asked them to do this. But before we get into any kind of ass making, we got to give you this week's review of the week, because reviews are so important to us. If you've never left us a review, please do it right now. Leave us a 5-star review. Go to the main Pillow Talks page on Apple Podcasts, scroll all the way to the bottom, leave that 5-star review, and then write a couple kind words or mean words if you really don't like our podcast.
No, don't stop. Don't tell people to write mean words.
No, you just write.
Terrible.
Please say nice things to us, because honestly, those reviews go such a long way to helping other people who may not know us so well know that we are a legit podcast and that we are worth listening to, that we are not asses ourselves. Please leave us that review as a thank you for leaving a review. We will enter you for life into our Review of the Week giveaway, which means if you hear your review read, like the one I am about to read, that means that you've won, and you've won a free masterclass, and you can DM us on Instagram or email us at info@vmtherapy to claim your prize. Spice up your life with Pillow Talks. Pillow Talks is my go-to for all things sex ed. Hosted by the fabulous Vanessa and Xander, every episode dives into juicy topics and serves up something new to learn. The hosts are a blast, fun, smart, and super relatable. They even make the trickiest subjects feel like a breeze. Whether you're a newbie or just looking to spice things up, this podcast is a must listen. 5 stars, no question. If you're not listening to Pillow Talks, you're seriously missing out.
That's such a nice review. Thank you so much for leaving that. Okay, let's get into your assumptions. I thought we'd start off hot and heavy with Xander likes to be pegged.
Oh, we're going there.
We are. So tell the people, do you like to be pegged?
Woo, okay, we are coming in hot and heavy.
Mm-hmm.
You were not kidding. Well, the answer to that is no. I don't, well, we haven't really tried.
Have you ever been pegged?
I have not ever been pegged.
Do you have an interest and excitement about being pegged?
No, I don't. We've definitely played around with some amount of anal play, and I definitely like a kind of like minor amount of that. But yeah, the idea of the kind of like full on pegging, it just doesn't really, it doesn't like pique my interest. Okay, all right, Vanessa. Now we're coming in on you. Vanessa can't stand being wrong.
This is false as well. Maybe at different stages in my life, I would have been like a little more worked up about it, but I really don't mind being wrong. Sometimes I actually like being wrong. Like if there's something that I've learned, I don't mind apologizing at all. Like, I'll be totally honest. Like, of course, there are certain times where it's like, I really want Xander to like see my perspective and understand, and I want to convince him about something, like, of course. But in general, like, I would not describe myself as somebody who can't stand being wrong. I think like, yeah, there's always so many interesting learning and growth opportunities when you're wrong. Next one, you're lonely.
Either of us?
Yeah, that was all that was put in the question box.
Both, either.
That you're lonely. Are you lonely?
No, I'm not lonely. We definitely like. I am working on like building my new group of friends here in Santa Barbara. We moved here about 2.5 years ago, so there's definitely like more work to do there. But we actually are. I mean, we have like a pretty solid group of friends. We have a lot of family here. Yeah, I mean, actually, honestly, I feel like I have more friends here now than I did in LA. In LA, I had a couple very close friends, but you know, like friends who are kind of like, LA is big and we lived all over the place, and it's like kind of challenging to like see people that don't live in your neighborhood in LA. And so like I feel like I actually am hanging out with people and friends on a way more often than back when we lived in Los Angeles.
I'm definitely not lonely. Yeah, I feel like I have really strong friendships, really strong family. You and I are together all the time. I don't really relate to feeling lonely at all. I wonder where that came from. Like, why did somebody assume that? I feel like all these assumptions, like, well, here, actually, this is a good question. Do you think people are just making like wild guesses, or do you think this is like something that they genuinely have thought, like, those people seem like they're lonely?
I don't know. It's a good question. You could go back through the question box on Instagram, find that person and DM them. But no.
Why do you think we're lonely?
Well, no. Here's what I will say is I could imagine somebody watching our social media, like, you know, kind of from the outside looking in. The way that we do our social is like we don't.
Oh yeah, we don't ever post our friends.
Yeah, we don't post like social content of like what we're really doing. Every now and then, like maybe with your family, we'll post some funny things, but that's more like when we used to like travel or something. Do you think it looks like
we just have no friends? It's just only ever us.
Yeah, it might look like we don't do very much because like we don't really see ourselves as like influencers, you know.
Yeah, I'm not like trying to post like a, you know, oh, here's my dinner and like my big group of friends. Also, like because our account is so big, I feel like I would have to ask permission to everybody of like, hey, are you cool with like me posting this?
Yeah,
and
it's a weird.
I just don't really care.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic. Yeah, when you know have, you know, none of our friends are, you know, like have like massive social media accounts, so it's like, yeah, it's not like, and even when you're hanging out with like business friends that have big accounts, like we don't get off on like doing Instagram. Like there's definitely some people where it's like, okay, like we're getting together and everything's going on Instagram, and that's
making
just like
content.
Yeah, like making content, but that's just not really what our life looks like.
Yeah. Calling all romance lovers. If you read ACOTAR, 50 Shades of Grey, Beach Read, or The Spanish Love Deception, I have the perfect app for you. Dipsea is the female-founded app for spicy audiobooks and more. Created by women for women. The app has over 1,000 spicy audiobooks, all crafted by a team of professional writers and top-tier narrators. Whether you're looking for a rugged cowboy or a Scottish sailor, fae royalty, the god of the underworld, you will find all the characters you love on Dipsea. With their easy-to-explore app, you can search for your favorite romance genres like contemporary, historical, dark, sports, western, romantasy, sapphic, and more. New chapters are released every week, so you can always find something new to enjoy. For Pillow Talks listeners, Dipsea is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/pillow. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to dipseastories.com/pillow, dipseastories.com/pillow.
Okay, but Vanessa, we pause work for middle of the day sex.
Okay, this is the first correct assumption.
Sometimes.
Well,
not like every day.
No, not every day, but like, yeah, we definitely do.
Yeah, 100%.
One of the big things we hear from people a lot is they think that we get like really turned on by working. Like we get really turned on recording this podcast and we just have to like stop and go have sex.
We don't.
That does not happen. We've never stopped recording the podcast to go fuck. And we've never, like, it's never been like in a meet, you know, like the thing that, yes, we work with sex and relationships are super fascinating topics, but like it's also still work, you know, like we're still having like a team meeting and talking about, you know, oh, what are the projections and what are this table and this data? Like,
Oh,
it's
you
not
know
like-
what? We are actually really horny right now. We'll be back. Give us 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. Why'd you just drag yourself like that?
I'm just kidding.
3 minutes. No, so yeah, I mean, I actually would say we don't really often get like turned on by our work. It's more like we work from home.
We get turned on by each other.
We get turned on by each other. We like the freedom of a little afternoon delight. That tends to be like the best time for us to have sex anyways. So we do that. But it's not like, oh my God, this podcast has me so horny. I just have to go do it.
Yeah, we have never paused work in a way that has impacted anybody else.
Yeah.
Or anybody else has known about. So, it's just, and honestly, if you work from home with your partner or spouse or whomever, if you work from home together, like I would highly encourage taking a quick break.
Who's the
to have
whomever?
sex. Well, I don't know.
Like if you work from home with whomever,
With your
pause
with
to have
your,
sex.
your roommate with benefits. I don't know.
All right, Xander, next assumption. You don't cook.
Oh, you could not be more wrong. I do cook. If this were Vanessa doesn't cook, Vanessa cooks a little.
I bake. I make dessert.
You have a limited repertoire of cooking.
I cook breakfast. I can cook dessert. I'm not a great.
She's not a meat-
I can follow
a meat
recipe.
cooker.
I'm not a meat cooker. I'm a good vegetable and like sides cooker. I can follow a recipe.
Yeah, you're great at like cooking out of a cookbook.
I'm a good
Ideally, if it doesn't include meat.
meal planner and prepper
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. But yeah, but we do a lot of cooking.
We do. Here's the next one. You'll never truly understand parents' experiences with sex because you're child-free.
That's correct. Absolutely. We've always been like really open and honest about that. But that actually extends far beyond just parents. I think we approach life and our advice with a lot of humility about what we do and don't know. Like we will never presume that we know what anybody else's relationship looks like, what anybody else's life looks like. So whenever we're giving any sort of advice, like we never are going to say like everybody has to do this, or you're bad if you don't do this, or this should be so easy for you to do this. Like everybody has unique circumstances. We are so respectful of that. So yeah, we never make assumptions that we like understand someone's experience. And we definitely never make assumptions that we understand what it's like to be parents, because we are child free. If you've never heard us talk about that before, we have episode 37 of the podcast. It's a super vulnerable, intimate episode that tells our whole story of deciding to become child-free. It was not an easy decision for us at all. It was not what we thought our lives were going to look like when we got married, but definitely check that out if you're interested in more. But, I think we have continued to share throughout the years, like, yeah, we're not going to ever understand that experience because we're not going to have that. But even still, if we did have kids, I would still say, I don't understand what it's like for you to be a parent.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I don't have your kids. I'm not living your life. I'm not in your situation. And I think that's actually one of the biggest problems with parenting focused content these days is there are so many people out there saying like, all parents should do this. You're a bad parent if you don't do that.
Yeah, speaking from my observation of like N=1, my observation of I have my own experience of my child or my children, and therefore I can tell you how to raise your kids based on your situation that I don't actually understand.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think I would be infuriated by that if I was a parent and like hearing somebody say like, you have to do this or you're bad if you don't do
it
better.
works for me, so why wouldn't it work for you?
Yeah, it's like you're not living my life. You don't have my kid. You don't know
me.
So even if we did have our own kids, I still think we would be very careful and respectful of not saying like, this is what it's like. This is what you have to do. Obviously there are certain common experiences that you can have, and maybe there is like a shared language in having a same experience with somebody, like a little bit of what it's like. But again, like I feel like it's more dangerous than helpful to assume you know what it's like for somebody else, because we don't. We never ever will know what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes. Okay, I'm curious to see where you're going to take this next one, Xander. You're both a bit bougie.
Yeah, I think we are.
You would describe yourself as being bougie? Bougie. I can't even say it.
Boogie?
Boogie.
I mean, what exactly do we mean by bougie?
Well, let's look it up. Okay, according to Google, bougie is someone who's middle class but wants to live a wealthier, more lavish lifestyle. It can also be used to describe high-end tastes. As a noun, bougie can refer to someone who supports traditional customs and values, prioritizes money, education, and social class, enjoys expensive and unusual things, aspires to the upper middle class, flaunts newly acquired wealth. According to that definition,
According to that definition, I'd say no. I mean, the one thing is, yeah, I do enjoy certain finer things.
So if you don't know, we record Pillow Talks from bed, and our bed is currently draped in all things Cozy Earth. They are one of our absolute favorite podcast sponsors because we love their products so much. So we have the linen blend bamboo sheet set and the duvet cover. They are so incredibly soft, and they get softer and softer and softer with every single wash. They're made with 100% premium viscose from bamboo. They're breathable, temperature regulating, just absolutely game changer to sleep on. But what we are really excited about right now is something brand new that we just got to try out for the very first time. They're pajama sets made with the same sort of temperature regulating bamboo viscose designed for durability and comfort. They are just incredible. Xander has been literally living in his. He's got the PJ pants. He also got a zip-up hoodie. They have all sorts of incredibly comfortable, incredibly soft clothing. So we have just been living literally in all things Cozy Earth. And you know, we're turning the corner into fall. It is the perfect time to get cozy. If you're somebody who just loves softness, soft clothes, soft sheets, they also have towels, like all sorts of products. All of their products are just unbelievably soft. We love Cozy Earth. We know you're going to love them too. And we are so excited to share an exclusive discount code. You can get up to 40% off. Go to cozyearth.com/pillowtalks and then use the code PillowTalks for an exclusive discount up to 40% off. If you get a survey after you make a purchase, just say that you heard about Cozy Earth from Pillow Talks. We would appreciate that so much. Again, you can go to cozyearth.com/pillowtalks and use code PillowTalks for an exclusive discount up to 40% off. What are the finer things you enjoy?
I mean, we enjoy like nice hotels.
A nice hotel. You
nice
like
hotels.
surfboards?
I like surfboards though. You know what? You don't know this, but
oh God.
There's like next level surfboard manufacturers that make like boards that are like one and a half times more than kind of what like the typical
Lord.
surfboard costs. That one I showed you that my friend was talking about, that's like the next echelon of surfboards, but I don't have an interest in that yet.
I mean, yeah, there are like a couple of nice things that I do enjoy, but I don't think any more than the average. Like, I think everybody has a couple nice things that they enjoy. And there are also a ton of things that I do not give a shit about and will not spend money on. Like, I don't have like super fancy, expensive purses. I don't have designer shoes or anything like that. Like, I don't know, get manicures and pedicures. Like, those are obviously not super expensive, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't particularly care about. I like a good hotel. I like good skincare, but I kind of consider skincare more as like health and wellness type of stuff.
Yeah,
like
we're bougie when it comes to health and wellness.
Yes, for sure. We invest a lot in our health and wellness because we both want to like be living happy and healthy lives way into our 80s, 90s, 100s.
Yeah. And we like the way that makes us feel now too.
But of the description that I read off of Google, like, I definitely value education, but I don't know. I think in general, like, money is not that important to us. Like, it's not something that we're
not social climbers.
No, obviously everybody, like, we all need money, and of course money makes life easier. We have some more money questions that we'll get to too, but you and I are not like wildly money motivated.
Yeah.
So I would not describe us as bougie.
Okay. Well, what about this one, Vanessa? Vanessa low-key looks down on Xander.
This one was the closest to mean that anybody got. I was like, oh, okay. This one is false. I don't look down on you, babe.
Is this from like the looks that you give me sometimes, like on Instagram stories, or?
I love laughing at you, but it's like a laughing with you. Like you are very willing to be ridiculous, to be entertaining. Like you do very funny stuff on Instagram and it cracks me up and it makes life with you very fun and exciting and enjoyable.
Yeah.
So it's always I laugh together with you, but it's never a like, oh, this guy sucks.
Sometimes I try silly or goofy things like on Instagram stories that don't work.
Yeah.
And
sure.
this is, guys, this is the reality of creating content together, especially with where Vanessa is sort of the expert and I am like, the guy just trying to kind of trying to like mix things up a bit and inject a little bit of humor or everyday reality into it. So like, she as the expert may sort of have a vision of, oh, okay, here's how I want this story to sound, or this thing that I'm talking about, like here's kind of the message that I want to send. And then, and then I kind of jump in and I might try something a little different or whatever. And so, you kind of may have a little bit of a clash where it's like, okay, she had a vision for what this is going to look like. And then I had I can't call it a vision. I had an idea for maybe something that could have been funny. And then sometimes it doesn't quite work. So you might sometimes see Vanessa being like, oh, buddy, like what? What are you doing?
No, we never post that if
No.
I don't think it landed. I
Yeah.
mean, there are things that I do that don't really land either.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, no, I'm never looking down on you. I love you. I admire you. I respect you. And I think you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Xander, here's the next one. Because you overshare your relationship online, it's a hot mess behind the scenes. And then we actually had a different one on the other end of the spectrum that said, you never fight.
Both of those are straight up wrong. I would say it is very far from a hot mess behind the scenes. It's pretty damn functional and healthy. We do fight, though.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
We, I think, are pretty good at fighting, though. So we fight pretty effectively. It's short and sweet.
I wouldn't say sweet, but
it's short. We both, get our jabs in, and then we try to take accountability
we don't jab at each other
for what happened. So little minor, little pokes.
We do little pokes at each
other.
other.
I cannot say we are. Yeah, I can't say that we are ever really trying to hurt the other person. But we've been together a long time. We know how to poke at each other.
We know the
a
buttons
bit.
to press. I mean, I hope that. Like, it actually bums me out to see, there were a bunch of people saying you never fight, and it sort of bums me out to see that because it's definitely not our goal to present ourselves as having a perfect relationship, mostly because we don't believe that actually exists. Like, nobody has a perfect relationship.
Also, whoever wrote this in hasn't really been watching our Instagram stories that closely because we talk about the disagreements that we get into very often after the fact.
Yeah, well, this is...
Or maybe they don't feel like serious disagreements.
Yeah, this is
people.
one of the challenges of showing like the realness of your relationship. Like, just think about the logistics of how this would work on stories. Let's say Xander and I are in a big fight. We've just had this huge conflict. We're not speaking to each other. What am I going to do? Or am I going to like interrupt the fight and be like, hold on, babe, let me hit record on stories.
Please no.
Let's have everybody watch us fight.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not okay.
Horrible.
No, I mean, I'll just say it. I'm not okay being in a relationship like that. Like,
oh no, I'm not going to put that.
I'd be out. I'd be out if we were doing that.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that either. I'm also not interested in let's say we put a pause in the fight. We're like separate, in separate sides of the house or whatever. Like, I'm not going to go onto Instagram when something's unresolved and be like, you guys, this motherfucker, listen to what he just did to me. I'm so pissed. Like,
and then I jump on and be like, I can't believe she just said that. It's so not what happened. Now, babe, that would be some good content.
That would be insane.
People would be watching that shit. But
I mean, honestly,
no.
I actually kind of wish someone would be brave enough to show that because it would be great to see people actually fighting. But like for us, we're not going to do that. We do really try to talk about conflict after the fact. So we make it like normalized. Like, we're very in love with each other. We have a very happy relationship and we fight. We disagree. We hurt each other's feelings. Like, that's just a part of being in a relationship. And we try to like teach some of the skills that we use to like overcome the conflict, to move on, to not have resentment build. But we try to be really honest and realistic about like, this is a healthy, normal part of being in a relationship. But I just think because of the logistics, you're only ever seeing it after the fact when we're feeling good, we've resolved it, we've processed it. So it like doesn't really even feel like a conflict. It's just like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. So I get that. I know that I've looked at other accounts that I follow and they'll share something about like, oh, we had an argument about da da da. And I have totally caught myself being like, whoa, I thought those guys never argue. It's just this weird way that social media gets into our head and makes us think like, because I'm not seeing it, it's not happening. But it absolutely is happening between the two of us. We fight. We've had some gnarly fights. Like, we've really been through some shit. We've been through some shit.
We have been through it.
We do not have the perfect relationship. We do not aspire to have the perfect relationship. We do our best to share the realities of that with you guys. But there's also, there's just limitations on how much we can share.
It's not can. We always can. There's limitations on how much we want to share. Yeah.
If you have listened closely to any Pillow Talks podcast episode, you have probably heard some gentle pug snoring, or maybe even a little dreaming in the background.
Maybe licking.
We are owners of two incredibly weird little rescue pugs and pug mixes, Maggie and Chauncey, and they are huge fans of one of our newest podcast sponsors, Chewy. Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands Maggie and Chauncey love at prices that we love. Food, treats, beds, you name it, they have it all, and they have incredibly fast shipping. It is to your door in just 1 to 2 days. It's not just dogs. There's cats too, birds, fish, reptiles, and more. Chewy even has pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're rolling out vet clinics across the country.
That is a one-stop shop.
Thanks to Chewy's auto ship feature, we're never going to get that "I'm so disappointed in you" look from either of our dogs. We can set up recurring shipments of all the essentials so we never run out, can change or cancel auto ship at any time. It's super convenient. One of their personal favorite products is the bully sticks. These two go to town on some bully sticks. And I will say, Chewy also has top tier 24/7 customer service. You can get expert advice over chat or phone day or night.
They'll even talk to your dogs.
Yeah, sure. You can put your dogs on the phone with Chewy. They will talk to them, figure out, what's going on, what's their favorite product, what do they want more of.
Bark once if you want the bully. Bark twice if you want the snuffle mat.
Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com/pillows. That's chewy.com/pillows. That's pillows with an S.
Plural.
To save $20 on your first order with free shipping. Chewy.com/pillows. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
All right. Moving on to something a little lighter. You're both okay with your partner coming into the bathroom while you're in there?
Absolutely not.
I'm okay with it if I'm peeing. I will pee in front of Vanessa. I will not poop in front of her.
Even if I wanted to be in there?
No, I could not.
I would not want to be in there. I don't really even care to, I don't really like to be in there while you're peeing either. I'm like, let me get out of here. Okay. First, let's just say zero judgment to people who do this. Everybody has really different approaches to this. We've heard from people who are like, it actually makes me feel closer to my partner. It feels like intimacy, that I don't have to hide myself from them, that we can just let our bodies be bodies in front of each other.
Hell yeah, you do you.
Yeah, I totally get that. I respect that. And it's just not how I feel personally.
Yeah, I show my vulnerability in other ways.
Yeah.
Like verbal ways.
Not pooping.
No shade to you. If it feels really
those
good
two things are not mutually exclusive.
Vulnerability in a physical way. I mean, we show vulnerability in a physical way in other ways,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just I feel like, my vulnerability needs are met.
For me, yeah, it's there's zero shame about pooping, peeing, bodily functions. Bodies are just bodies. We do this stuff. It is so healthy. It's so normal. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So it's not coming from a place of shame, like, oh my God, you should never do that in front of another person. And I think especially as a woman, we do get a lot of crappy, socialization where like, oh, I never poop. I never fart, like we're say that kind of crap. So for me, it's not coming from that. It's just that, I don't know, being in the bathroom is kind of like my personal space. It's my little moment to just be by myself. I don't really like...
Yeah, I want my little poop vacation. I don't want you interrupting that. I want to be on my phone, in my 49ers YouTube content, doing my thing.
Yeah.
It's my little break. It's like, it's the new cigarette break. Basically barely anyone
break.
smokes cigarettes anymore.
Yeah.
It's my cigarette break. Give me my 10, 15 minutes. My content.
All right, Xander, here's the next one. You've tried swinging / open marriage.
I haven't.
How about us? I don't know why that would be different.
I don't know. You got to answer.
You haven't,
have
but
you?
we have together. No. This is false.
Yeah, before meeting Vanessa, there were very short, minor periods of time in my life where I was available to date, and that wasn't something that I did very much. Just because that's kind of how the timing of everything worked out. And multiple people at the same time was just stressful to me. And so the idea of being in a full ass relationship and dating or having sex with multiple people sounds stressful and just not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, this is another one where we have zero judgment about people choosing different options. Like, we have always been very outspoken about the fact that we think people should consciously choose monogamy, not just default to it because that's what everybody else does. So we think that swinging, having some sort of open marriage, any kind of ethical non-monogamy is a great option for a lot of people. It's just for us personally, not what we choose to have in our own relationship. And what either of us have had in previous relationships, but totally support people doing that if that's what feels right for them. Aside from sex and relationships, one of my other great loves in life is skincare. I am such a skincare junkie, and it is really important to me to find products that actually work, which is why I am so excited to tell you about OneSkin. OneSkin's topical supplements are powered by their proprietary peptide OS1, scientifically proven to target the dysfunctional senescent cells that start to accumulate around age 30. These are the cells that make skin dull, dry, and more prone to lines and wrinkles. Plus, all of OneSkin's products for the face and body, including their new mineral sunscreens, are backed by lab and clinical studies and more than 8,000 five-star reviews. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin for 15% off using the code PILLOW when you check out at oneskin.co. Start your new scientifically proven skincare routine today with OneSkin. I have both the eye and the face topical. They're super easy to use. They layer really nicely with other products. And I like that OneSkin focuses on making products that are really effective. So it's not a 15-step skincare routine. They just really focus on getting you those core products that are going to make a big difference. Leveraging their in-house cutting-edge R&D platform, they were able to measure the efficacy of age reversal molecules in their lab by staining skin samples in the lab for senescent cells and analyzing changes to the skin's genetic data before and after exposure to their proprietary OS1 peptide. OneSkin scientists found that OS1 reverses skin's biological age by reducing the number of senescent cells by up to 50%. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using code PILLOW at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code PILLOW. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support Pillow Talks and tell them that we sent you.
All right, our next one is that one of you took more convincing than the other for the no kids thing. Interesting.
Shockingly, no. And that was really, really lucky for us. I know I already mentioned that child-free episode. Definitely go back and check it out. But one of the things we talked about is that we both thought that we were going to have kids. We went into this marriage having a lot of conversations about, okay, we're on the same page about this, right? We do want to have kids.
Well,
okay.
It was assuming that we wanted. I wouldn't say that we wanted to. We assumed that we would want to at a certain point.
Yes, we assumed that we would want to, but like that was the intention going in. It's like we don't feel the active desire to have kids in this very moment, but we were young when we got married. We figured we'll have a few years and then we'll feel the desire to. And both of us ended up changing our minds. And neither one of us required more convincing than the other. There was zero convincing involved. That was actually really important to us, that we each made the space for the other to say, like, no, you know, like having kids is really important to me. My life would not feel complete. I would not feel fulfilled if I did not have kids. So we definitely made the space for that. Neither one of us were interested in trying to convince the other one to change their mind. And amazingly, we both changed our minds, like at the same time, in the same way. It's actually pretty shocking looking back. Because I think in another universe, I think both of us would have been willing to end the relationship if our partner said, like, I really need to have kids. Like, I can't see my life being fulfilled without that. But I will say, like, I remember way back in the day when we posted that original podcast episode, because that was, you know, within our first year of the podcast. Mm-hmm. I think we had some sort of reel up where we talked about it. And people left comments. So I think this one is directed towards you. They think that you needed more convincing. Because I remember people leaving comments being like, you can see it in his eyes. He wants kids, and he's going to resent her for not having kids. Like, I remember that. And I was like, damn, that's fucked up to post on people that you don't even know. Oh, yeah. It was like,
every man wants to, like, sow his seed.
Exactly. It was like, he's not going to feel like a real man unless he's sowed his seed, and he's going to resent her for the rest of his life.
Yeah, nah, dog. Yeah, I mean, I would say...
Let me see your eyes. Convince me with your eyes that you don't want
My
kids.
eyes are darkening. No, that's from a silly reel that we did recently. But no, if anything, I think that both of us were a little worried. Like, we both started having these thoughts about, maybe not. Like, I'm not really feeling this kid thing. And both of us probably were a little worried, like, oh God, I'm kind of scared to say this to my partner, because what are they going to think? You know, we've talked about wanting to have kids, and how is this going to work? And so it was kind of it was almost like a coming out type of moment for both of us, of like, oh, I got to come out with this information that is kind of contradictory to the assumption that we had been making going in. So it was a huge relief when we did finally talk about it. It was like, okay, yeah, wow, we actually are totally on the same page about this.
Okay, Xander, this one's a little bit similar to something we already talked about, but someone said it's a lot harder than you make it look to work together and run a business as a couple.
I would say yes. It hasn't always been this easy. First of all, I went through a number of years of kind of back and forth / figuring out whether I wanted to be full-time working with you in what at that point was your company. I was also doing some of my own HR consulting on the side, and I had a couple clients, and was like being very successful at doing that. And I was trying to decide for myself, like, do I want to keep kind of splitting my time between these two things? Do I want to go all in on, just my own consulting business? Do I want to go all in working with Vanessa? And I struggled with that decision for a while. I was kind of battling some of my own demons at the time with that. And it took me a long time and a lot of personal work to kind of really figure out what it was that I wanted. And ultimately, the choice that I made to stop doing that work on my own and go all in with Vanessa was like one of the best decisions I made. I kind of had an unhealthy relationship with some of the work that I was doing for myself. And when I finally cut that cord, it was like the biggest relief. Mm-hmm. But I also had to really work on how I showed up in working with Vanessa and what our roles were and whatnot. Because for me, the challenge was before that, I had come through the kind of like consulting and the corporate tech world where like the way you show up at work, you show up a certain way and you have certain expectations of how you communicate, with teammates, with managers, and things that like, your manager would never say to you, and things that, ways that your manager would say certain things to you and whatnot. And it's like, once you start working with your spouse, it's like you're so much closer. You're not like beating around the bush with certain things when it comes to like how your working relationship is. And that was hard
Although
for me.
that makes it sound like I'm saying horrible things to you. Like your manager would never say that to you.
Well, no, I mean, I think that we kind of cut right to the chase when we're communicating with each other about stuff. It's not like just you to me. I mean, it was just both of us talking to each other about things where it was like, I was operating from this beating around the bush kind of way. And you were like, no, like, I'm not having that with, you're like my spouse. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, why do we need to beat around the bush about stuff? Like, let's just talk about, the real shit. And that was hard for me at first because I had no experience with that in the workplace. And it took me a little while. And I'm very glad that I stuck that out. So yes, we've done a lot of work on it. It is much easier now that we have spent years and years and years doing it. But for a couple of years, it was definitely a challenge.
I mean, I would say it's still a challenge.
Oh, yeah. We have to still work at it.
Every week there's something coming up where it's just totally different when you work with your partner. Like things feel more personal. You do cut corners in communication sometimes. You like in the same way that you annoy each other and get snippy with each other in your relationship, like that happens in your work relationship too. So it's definitely, I'll put it this way. I would not recommend that most people work with their partner. I think you and I do it really well because we have really worked on our communication style. We've gotten really clear on like how it is that we work together and how we run this business together. But it's definitely a challenge. It is definitely a challenge. And this is another one where it's like we don't want to make it look easy on Instagram, but also like we're not a business account, so we're not like sharing, what it's really like to run a business. So we're not showing the ins and outs of like what that actually looks like.
Yeah, what I would say for you, if you are considering doing this with your partner, if one or both of you is opposed to going to couples therapy or really getting super honest about like your dynamics and your communication, do not try to work together. It is not going to work. You have to be very open and very curious about really tackling the tough stuff between you. Otherwise, it is not going to work. Okay, we're just going to continue going in on this. Vanessa wears the pants.
Yeah, I put these two together. Vanessa wears the pants, and the next one is Xander is a feminine man.
Oh.
Because I honestly want to go on a little bit of a rant about gender dynamics.
Let's go, girl. Hit them.
So I'll say, like, I absolutely do not wear the pants in our relationship. I think you and I have a really balanced and fair relationship. We both
wear pants at times.
We both wear pants at times.
Sometimes we go pantsless.
I actually really dislike pants. But I think we have really figured out what are our skills, what are our, the areas where we enjoy taking the lead a little bit more. And we've carved out roles for ourselves in the business and in our personal lives where like we each take the lead in different areas. I think we're a really good team in that way.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, for example, we are about to leave on vacation for 2 weeks tomorrow. And I challenge any of you to come see us at the airport and tell me that Vanessa's wearing the pants.
That's very true.
I challenge you in the midst of traveling halfway around the world. I wear all the pants.
Travel day. I am pantsless at the airport.
Yep, I'm calling the shots, and Vanessa's listening to me.
So, yeah, I mean, we each wear the pants in different areas, but I get really frustrated sometimes when I see stuff like this because we as a society still have so far to go when it comes to women and women having any sort of confidence, power, agency. Like, we just go to this place of like, oh, well, she must wear the pants in the relationship.
Well, it's like a flawed question because it's the pants, as if there are only one pair of pants that only one person can ever wear at a time. And it's
we got two pairs of pants.
That's not how life works. We both have tons of pairs of pants. We just don't like wearing them very much.
Yeah, so I think there's a real judgment and stereotype of like, oh, if a woman is confident or if she expresses herself, then she must be, bossy and domineering. There were a bunch of other comments that were actually like much harsher than this, like Vanessa's domineering and she's very like strict. There was one. She's very strict.
Ooh,
I was like,
kinky.
What? Am I like a teacher or something?
I could get into this fantasy.
You've been a bad boy.
You know what? We might actually have to, for the first time, pause the podcast and play this out a little more. Just kidding. Well, I mean, I think, though, like, one thing to say, like, if we're talking about if there is, like, in this theoretical example where there's, like, one pair of pants to wear, I think, when it comes to our business, like, Vanessa obviously is the trained and educated one in the in the kind of content area that we focus on. So from that perspective, I do defer a lot to Vanessa's expertise in, kind of like the therapy and the sex therapy world. I definitely have a lot of knowledge from being on this ride with her for the past number of years, but I'm never going to pretend to be like the level of expert that she is. Mm-hmm. And so, what you might perceive someone following us in our work and our business is that, in that regard, you might pick up on that as, oh, it looks like Vanessa wears the pants, because I am deferential to her in many of the sort of like content areas because she is the expert. I want to make sure that like I'm saying something that actually makes sense from a like psychological or therapeutic perspective, right, babe? So that gets at there are multiple pairs of pants to wear. There are different areas of life where each of us takes a little more of the lead or a little less of the lead. Mm-hmm. And I think we both feel really comfortable with that. And that's one of the reasons why probably our relationship looks so good, because we do that pretty seamlessly. But it's taken us a long time to be able to do that seamlessly.
I will say also, there are certain areas of life where I really enjoy Xander wearing the pants.
And
I really enjoy being submissive and letting someone else take over. Mm-hmm. So I'm not it's not like I'm like, I gotta share the pants with Xander. God damn it. Like, I actually really enjoy.
Let me in those pants.
Not having my pants sometimes. Okay, but let's go to the other end of this. Xander is a feminine man.
I don't really know what that means. I mean, I am the man that I identify as a man. I'm the man that I am. I'm happy with who I am and the person that I am. I don't know. What do you?
I think that sometimes people are a little rude about this question, and they assume like because you're a man who is in touch with his emotions, who can express himself, that like you're more. I think they're saying feminine as an insult.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were other ones that were like, Xander's a simp kind of thing. So I think it's meant to be an insult. And I think this is another shitty gender dynamic thing that comes up too. Like, oh, any man who is able to speak about his emotions must be feminine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I'll take that as a compliment though, because I am in touch with, I think, both the masculine and the feminine, and that works for me.
I'd say the same for me. Like, I feel like I have a very healthy relationship with my masculine side, a very healthy relationship with my feminine side. And I think that is difficult for people to see sometimes. It's like they just want to see a pure masculine man or a purely feminine woman. And I think that actually a lot of our ideas and stereotypes of like what masculinity is and what femininity is are actually incredibly flawed and toxic and dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, when you put it that way of like, oh, just a purely masculine man, like I don't have a desire to be like that. That sounds exhausting and like not very fulfilling to me. Okay, our next one is, you come from well-off families and have never struggled with money, or you're rich.
That was one of the most frequent responses in the question box. So the idea of like where we came from, our backgrounds, our struggles, like this is absolutely false. So I come from a family of dirt poor immigrants who really had to struggle to make it work and have actually created beautiful, beautiful lives for themselves. But
yeah, and like in each successive generation of your family has bettered themselves.
But like my grandma was a strawberry picker in the fields. Like we were not, she was not a wealthy family. My mom did not grow up wealthy. And my immediate family, like we grew up in Santa Barbara, which is definitely, California in general is a pretty well-off state overall. But my family, was just very solidly middle class. We definitely had financial strain. Both of my parents owned their own small businesses. There were definitely lean years. We grew up clipping coupons and learning, the importance of saving money. And yeah, it was definitely like we never wanted for anything. Like there was never a struggle to like put food on the table or anything like that. But we also didn't have like super nice things. And I mean, one of the most traumatizing experiences of my childhood in relation to money was when I got into Brown, my dream school. This was like, I'd been working on this for years, having this dream. Like my mom completely broke down, cried that was only the second time I'd ever seen her cry in my life.
When she saw like kind of like the bill.
What the bill was going to be. And she said, we can't afford this. Like you're going to have to go to community college and like maybe see if you can transfer. And I lost it. Like that was so scary and hard for me.
Well, that's got to be just like a crazy experience because that's after you've already gone
I did all the work.
The application,
I got
and
in.
It's like, wait, if I had known this up front, that would have changed where I would have applied to. Like at that point, you were probably too late to like get into like a UC or something.
Yeah. And then, Xander and I together, like we definitely have had money struggles. There was another one that was like, you guys never fight about money. That's not true at all. Like when I went back to grad school to get my degree in counseling psychology, that was really difficult for us to go from, both of us had been making incomes to now just relying on Xander's income. And not only that, but we're racking up grad school debt from me. So that was like very stressful. We had a lot of like disagreements about money and stresses around it. So that's been a part of our story too. But I do think like there's so much interesting stuff that comes up around money. Like there's so much judgment that comes up around it as well. And so, now we are at the point where, we've spent, God, when did we start this? I basically started this business in like 2014. It wasn't really till 2016 that like this iteration of it, or even 2020. But like I've been, some form of this business for a decade, and we have built up to the point where we are comfortable now, where we have a really great life.
We have a very successful business.
And I think that's really fucking cool. That like for me, for my side of it, that I can be this generation that's like you were saying, each generation has done better and better, and to be this like kind of American dream story. I think that's really fucking cool. I think it's really cool that we have made money by helping people and by really focusing on having a business with integrity, with value, with heart. Like we have never gone into this with like, let's see how much money we can make. How badly can we rip people off? Like we've lowered prices on things. We've had, way lower prices than other people doing similar kinds of things have. We have also been able to use our, like the money that we've made to hire a team to like support other families and pay them incredibly well and, make their livelihoods, like make jobs. And we've donated a shit ton of money to charity, which I'm super, super proud of, that we take like a certain portion of our revenue and give that straight to charity. So like we've done really incredible things with money. Like obviously there are a lot of shitty people in the world doing really shitty things with money, but money in and of itself is not evil. Like when good people have money, they can do incredible things with it. And I think I'm really proud of what we've done with our money and the relationship that we have with money.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, similar to Vanessa, or maybe sort of similar to Vanessa. I would say now, in hindsight, looking back, my family was probably upper middle class. Like I never was aware of any like struggle with money. We definitely did not have unlimited money. Like I was limited in the things that I was allowed to have and get. And I definitely had friends that we were very much like, obviously had everything.
Didn't grow up fancy.
No, I didn't grow up fancy.
You grew up in the woods, in a cabin in the woods.
I did grow up in a house in the woods. But no, looking back, I have a lot of gratitude. I feel like really lucky to have, had the life that I had, and and I don't take that lightly. Like like Vanessa said, I think for us, we have a successful business, and it's really important to both of us to do good things with the good money that we make. That's that's kind of like that's the deal. When you make good money, you got to do good things with it, and I think that's kind of the way that we like to live our lives.
All right, and our last assumption: sometimes you pause the podcast to argue.
We have paused the podcast before.
We've
That
also
doesn't.
not paused the podcast to argue. We've just
Yeah, I
had
mean,
some like
our
weird,
editor, yeah.
some weird snippy moments on the podcast with each other that only our podcast editor will ever hear.
I mean, that's the reality of like, two people with two ideas for how they're doing things, like coming together, trying to merge those visions or those ideas, and sometimes it's not perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we've had random arguments where like one person will say something the other didn't like, and then it just like, and then they'll say like, oh, I don't like the way you do that. And then the other person will be like, their feelings will get hurt. So just kind of like dumb little snippy things like that. We've also had times where someone has said something personal that like the other person was like, I don't want that in there. And we've had a couple like solid fights where we had to like turn off the podcast completely. We didn't even let our podcast editor hear that. We like completely restarted. I think there was like one time that we didn't even do it that day because we were just testy with
I think
each
so.
other.
I think I maybe remember which one that was. But yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They're very few and far between. But yeah, there have been one or two situations where, someone inadvertently opened a can of worms.
All right. Well, you have made a lot of assumptions about us, and now we are going to turn it back on you.
Oh, okay.
We assume that you're ready to start connecting more deeply with your partner and learning to love them more fiercely.
Because who wouldn't want that?
So we wanted to share with you something that we recently created and released. It's called Your Best Week Ever, because we have so many people reaching out to us who say like, we really love your approach to relationships. We looked at your website. Everything looks great. Like we just don't know where to start, or feeling intimidated too. Like I want to have deeper intimacy. I want to feel closer to my partner, but I just don't know how to actually get there. So we created something that is the perfect starting point that'll ease you into having epic intimacy in your relationship, but in a way that feels approachable, that feels simple, feels easy. And the best part is it only takes like 5 to 10 minutes a day. Well, actually, the best part might be that it is only $29. This is actually what we were talking about with the whole money thing. Like, we really aim to make our resources as accessible as possible. We have a variety of different price points, but for this, we thought, you know what? We want to have something where everybody who listens to our podcast, comes to our Instagram, comes to our website, that like just about anybody could afford having this great like relationship reset, a jump start, help you and your partner get the tools you need to have incredible intimacy inside and outside of the bedroom. So head on over to vmtherapy.com/best to check that out. And we will also put a link in the show notes for you.
Well, that's all for today's episode of Pillow Talks. Thank you so much for listening. Join us again next week when we answer the big question, should you put up with this in the bedroom?
Da, 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 there's an airplane outside. The dog's gonna lose their shit. Do, do, do. It's another song for art. Do, do, do. The airplane song, airplane song. Distract the dogs with the